Hi, I'm Peggy Farron. Thanks for joining us on the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel, nature, and fine art photography. My guest today is Skip Milos, and he is going to talk about how he turned his business around. And I think that's very relevant for us right now. One of the things we talk about in this show is how important it is to have your photography skills up to snuff. Photography is a very competitive business. If you're interested in becoming a professional, or if you are a professional, you really have to have a good foundation in photography. And of course, we have a class for that. Our class is called the 4 Weeks to Proficiency in Photography. It's a 4-week interactive class. So you have homework that your teacher, who is me, is going to help you with. We're going to help you with the settings, all that kind of stuff. You're going to have a great foundation in photography. So first class is shooting in manual. Second class is composition. Third class is about lighting, including using flash photography and artificial lighting. And then, of course, the last class, I call it the techie stuff. We do metering modes, drive modes, white balance, all kinds of things like that. That class, you'll have to go on understandphotography.com to see when the next one begins, but it's 4 weeks and you will have that solid photography education. Our motto at Understand Photography is we simplify the technical. Now, if you're not on our mailing list, go over to understandphotography.com and you'll see the first thing you see is click here for freebies. Just click there, choose a freebie, put in your email address, and you'll be on our newsletter list. We put out a newsletter once a month. My guest today is Skip Milos. Now, Skip was the team photographer for the Tampa Bay Rays professional baseball team for 16 years, and then kind of out of the blue, he lost that gig. So today we're going to talk a little bit about sports photography and how he got the gig in the first place, and then how he turned his business around. So welcome, Skip.
Hi, Peggy.
Thanks for being on the Understand Photography Show.
Okay, my pleasure.
So tell our audience a little bit about Skip Milos as it pertains to photography, and give us the short version.
Oh, boy. Yeah, the short version. Well, actually, the overwhelming majority of my life, well, about half of it now, was all in showbiz. Yeah, I know, this is a surprise for you, isn't it? I got to have some surprises while we do this. Yeah, I was in showbiz the first half of my life. Songwriter, I produced 2 albums, ended up doing a stand-up comedy routine in all over the country and a few other countries. And then had some problems like a lot of comics did back in the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean? So semi-retired and built a recording studio. And this house, I built a recording studio in this house. And figured I'd make a living that way and slow things down a little. Well, I went dead broke immediately. So I'm doing this really fast, okay? So the internet was just coming in to its own right. It was pretty much a way for universities to exchange information at that time. It wasn't really but I saw that recording studios were hooked into this pipeline as well. So I thought, if I could figure out a way to build a website and get that up and running, maybe I could get the phone to start ringing. So I built a website that for the time was phenomenal. And the phone started ringing. But everybody that was calling wanted to know who built the website, and no one wanted to. I mean, I was advertising the fact that I had a recording studio with the website. That's what it was for, But everybody wanted to know who built the website. We need a website. And I'm like, well, we record things here. That's what bam. So finally, Tech Data called me one day. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Tech Data, but they were then and are now a huge company. They sell techie stuff, like the Amazon of techie stuff. But they have a base here in Clearwater. They called, said, we were interested in your site. We were looking for a website. And I got sarcastic and hung up on them. And then my partner looked at me and he goes, well, that was Tech Data. They probably have 20 grand to put down on a website. We're dying here. So, yeah, I called them back, got that job. And from that point on, I was answering the phone, Skip Milos Productions, web design. Can I help you? And that took off. So a lot of my clients needed photography for their websites, but this is so long ago that all the pros were using film. And I was already experimenting with these brand new cameras that were coming out that were all digital. Sony, I think, had the very, very first one that I bought. I think it had a uh, 500 meg image, 500 megs, really teeny picture. But I told my clients, I said, look, let me do the photo shoot. If you like the material, no extra charge. If you don't, we'll hire a pro and I'll scan it like everything the way. They liked the work. I started to get more photo shoots. And the next thing I know, I'm letting the web design thing kind of fall off, and I'm going off with photography. And that's the very short version of that.
So when you started your photography career, like, okay, you started with the web stuff, but then when you started getting jobs that didn't have anything to do with the website, they were more same type of stuff, like commercial work?
The very first camera I bought was because I had a job waiting for me. Yeah, I never got a chance to do the artsy thing. Certainly never went to school. I never got the chance to experiment with light and all this. I mean, I was working with the camera the very first, right off the bat. I just fell right into it. And, I'd like to have a big, crazy, wonderful story about how I planned out my life and I set a goal and I attained the goal. I fell ass backward into it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but you had at least you took the risk and
Sure.
and you learned. I mean,
Yeah.
learning photography on your own is, especially back then,
Oh, yeah.
not easy, because it wasn't like you could just go on YouTube and look something up.
Right. And the whole thing was difficult. I'm a pretty smart guy. Learning how to build websites in those days, everything was code. There was no WYSIWYG. There was no push the big red clown nose button and miracles will happen. Everything was code. You had to know the code to do anything, even to change a text color. You had to put raw code in. So, and matter of fact, the learning curve just to get into a chat room where you can have a discussion with people on how to do this had a huge learning curve. I spent weeks trying to figure out how to break into a chat room,
Yeah, because
So it was
bulletin boards back then, right?
Yeah, you're right. It was not easy at all back in those days, but it's fun.
Wow. So then you were happily making a living mostly as a photographer. And how'd you get the gig with the Tampa Bay Rays?
Okay, so that's how this transition happened. Now I'm shooting pictures, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have this little Sony digital camera, and I think I'm a big shot photographer now. So I thought I need to build a portfolio. So let's start with some local sports. So I called up a couple of, the Bucks or this or that. They all gave me a credential. I called up the Rays, and the Rays were very flip. And again, I'm doing this story really fast. This is a really funny story if I can. But I called up the Rays and I said, "Hi, my name is Skip Milos. I own Skip Milos Productions. Blah blah blah. I'd like to get a credential so I can go down there and take some pictures with some of the pros, And they were like, "Yeah, we don't extend credentials to web designers." And so I got a little flip back with them, and I said, "Well, it's not like I'm going to have a problem finding a front row seat at one of your shows, I mean." So. The next night I was sitting in a front row seat, cost me like $10, and I took my pictures. But the thing is, I caught a really, really cool picture while I was at that game. And I sent it, I emailed it to the Tampa Bay Rays the next day. So even email back then was, not many people even knew what it was.
Right.
But I sent them a copy of that picture. And I said, "Look, I thought I caught something kind of special here. And if you want to do something with it, have at it." And they called me back 5 minutes later, and they said, "This picture is one of the sharpest, cleanest pictures we've ever seen in Tropicana Field. How did you do it? And we might have a job for you."
Ooh.
And for the second time in my stupid life, I said, "Yeah, I don't aspire to shoot baseball players for a living. I would really just appreciate a credential so I can come down and meet some pros and well, you got a credential anytime you want it." So I hang up the phone. There's my partner sitting across the room from me again, looking at me like, "That was Major League Baseball. You just, And I was like, "Yeah, that was kind of a quick decision, wasn't it?" So I called him back. We had lunch, and that was it. I worked for him for 16 years.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about the job, and then go ahead. Just tell us a little bit about the actual job. What did you do for 16 years?
Well, as a team photographer, I was pretty much responsible for everything photography-wise that went on for the entire organization. So that means, obviously, I shoot every game. And the normal format in the beginning was just to get them the pictures, however. And what we normally did is I'd shoot the game, I'd go home, I'd put them on a CD and bring it into work the next day. And we did that for years and years. Then social media kind of got into it, and now all of a sudden I'm uploading pictures like the guys from the papers do.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted some highlight shots throughout the game right away, fast. That was irritating to me because I like to take my time and select pictures.
Yeah.
And I think if you give people stuff too fast, I think it's neat when there's a little suspense. I mean, we could never go back to the old days where you get up in the morning and you look at the newspaper about the sports that went on the day before, and you see those 2 highlight pictures that are fantastic. You know, now they get tons of stuff and they get it immediately. I don't know if that's good or bad. But anyway, it also evolved into that as far as shooting the games. And of course, when I shoot the games, I shoot everything that happens in the pregame. You know, there's always a ceremonial first pitch. There's always little kids involved that are getting something. There's always somebody getting an autograph signed because they were part of a package, whatever. Cover it all, every bit of it. Any of the ball players getting awards on the field before the games, you know, boom, boom, boom. So that, and then I did 80% of their marketing material at least. So, you know, every month there's going to be a program cover shot on location somewhere with one or more ball players. You know, when you get the program, when you come in, there's a nice picture on the front of it. That's me. Okay. And then all their community involvement stuff. I'm running around covering all that. You know, they have swimming lessons. They have a fashion show. They have a this, that, whatever, all of that. And then lastly, I did a lot of stuff for the ball players themselves. You know, I shot a lot of their weddings. I shot their babies, you know, their newborn baby. I shot all kinds of stuff, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many pictures did you take on average at one game?
Just the game?
Yeah.
Or just that event?
Pre-game, you know, the whole.
Yeah, usually 1,000.
1,000, and how many did you give them?
All of them.
You know, throw any pictures away?
Oh, God, no. Matter of fact, I have every single picture I ever shot on these hard drives right behind me.
Well, even bad pictures? You don't go through them and color them?
Every single picture. Yeah,
oh.
Even if I dropped the camera and it popped off 10, they're all there. Yeah. No, I edited. Believe me, I edited. What I did for the Rays is I would come home at night and I would edit out maybe 10, 12 highlight pictures. And this way I get to edit them really nicely. And I would email everybody within the organization that cared to have these, you know, fun shots from last night's game. That's always what it was called in the subject heading of the email. Fun shots from last night's game. And in hopes that they would use those pictures, because I don't know how many of your viewers are professional on any level, but ever worked with editors or people that take your images and do things with them. But it's usually bad. It's quite often bad what those people do. And they even select bad pictures. I don't know where there's such a disconnect there, but so that's another reason I did that. It was in hopes that they would use the pictures that were retouched perfectly, and they were good selections.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
yeah, I'm a little curious about that, because I know if you're an avid blog reader of mine, you'll see that I've only photographed sports, I think, one time. And I blogged about it because I was so out of my element.
Right.
But I was just on continuous drive mode a lot because it was my nephew's lacrosse game. And I was, if he had the ball, I was just like,
yeah.
So, I mean, you gave all of those pictures to them.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Wow. There was really no need to edit them. They were going to be edited again anyway, you know.
By them.
Huh?
By them or by
By them, yeah, by them. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I don't know if maybe it was just a little lazy on my part or what, or what it was. But like I say, I would do an edit and I would take out the 12 best pictures I thought
Yeah.
for that game, but I wouldn't just trash everything else. I
Wow.
know this much: as cheap as hard drives are nowadays, you want a little tip from your Uncle Skip? Here, I'll give you one. I shouldn't do that when you're drinking. I'm sorry. um, hard drives are cheap. Don't throw out anything ever. Really, just, put it on you never know when you're going to get that crazy little picture that someone's got to have. Or it seems to me like I hang on to stuff for decades, and as soon as I'm never going to need that again, I get a phone call. I know it's been a long time, but is there any chance? I'll pay you anything if you could find that, yeah, hang on to it. It can't hurt.
That's good advice. All right. So I want to get to how you turned your business around. So first give us like top 10 tips on sports photography.
Oh God. Really love what you do because there's not a lot of money in it. You can make decent money being a team photographer. That's why it's such a desirable gig, plus you get to hobnob with all the guys and go to World Series once in a while. Yeah, it's fun. But if you're working for a paper or if you're working it's a tough job and it does not pay a lot of money. And also, if you're working for a paper, they usually supply you with the equipment, so you don't have to worry about that. But a lot of independent photographers that are working for papers and whatnot, you got to spend. One thing about sports photography is you cannot have cheap equipment or you're going to have horrible pictures. You got to have really fast cameras. You have to have really fast lenses, and you need long lenses. So you know what that costs, Peggy. It's a 400 is $11,000. A 300 is $7,000. And the cameras that you need, if you're going to do it professionally, you need the top of the line, really. But I would say you can get by with any camera that'll shoot at least 5 frames a second or faster.
Okay.
I mean, there was a time not too long ago where 4 frames a second was all the rage. 4 frames in a second. I remember that. This thing is lightning fast.
I know.
And now it's like, not so fast. If you think about that though, it really is like throwing rocks at the moon. The difference between 4 seconds. The camera I have now shoots 16 frames a second. It's a Canon 1DX Mark II. 16 frames a second. It's ridiculous. But the ball makes contact with the bat in a thousandth of a second. Way. So if you're shooting 10 frames a second, and that's when it occurs, that's still a joke to think that that's going to help you. If I was trying to put the ball in the bat, I always shot 1 frame every time. When you're in the game a long time, you get to know the pitchers, and you kind of get to understand what they might be throwing next, and you judge your 1 frame by that. Is he going to throw a changeup? Is he going to throw a fastball? Is he going to throw a curveball? They all get there in a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? This is assuming the batter swings, and this is assuming the batter connects. But I had way better luck putting the ball right on the bat, just popping 1 frame right when I think it's going to get there. Way better luck.
Wow.
And then it's a bunch of nothing,
That's amazing to me.
I know you didn't ask me that, so I kind of went crazy there. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So give us at least 2 more tips.
Okay. For sports. Yeah. Okay. Good equipment. Love what you do, because that's really important too. Oh gosh, what else would I say? Make sure these sound silly, but they're actually very important. I learned them the hard way. Make sure you have a really good camera bag to put your equipment in, because bad things, when you're a sports photographer, bad things happen. You're schlepping around, you're getting down and off of planes, you're running around. Make sure you have a really, really good bulletproof bag that you put your stuff in, so that if it takes a 10-foot drop, everything inside there is going to be okay.
That's good advice. What about like when you're shooting? I'll tell you one thing that, because we have a big mix in our audience, and our motto at Understand Photography is we simplify the technical. So we do have a lot of beginners who listen.
Right.
because one of the things, actually the main thing I think that beginners struggle with is they get blurry pictures because their shutter speed's not fast enough.
Right. Yeah, you have to have a camera. There's actually, it's a triangle, and all three, each one of them are just as important: ISO, shutter speed, and f-stop. The thing about expensive lenses is they allow you to shoot a wide open f-stop. Most sports lenses are going to be like a 2.8, and that's all your prime Canon. Now I'm a Canon guy, so I don't know anything about Nikon. If you're a Nikon user, that's fine. I don't think, I just ended up going that way. It makes no difference. I think Nikon has every bit of good stuff as Canon, and they go back and forth all the time. But I'm a Canon guy, so all of their longer lenses are all f2.8 lenses. And because you've got an f-stop that's that shallow, you can shoot faster. So I know what my settings were in Tropicana Field, and I can give you like the settings for outdoors too, really. But in Tropicana Field, I shot on an ISO of, I think 2000, which is not high at all by today's standards, not at all. But when I started doing this, it was very high. And it was
they didn't even give us that option. That mine stopped at 600.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah. So aperture is always f2.8. But now that the ISOs are so much better, I normally shoot like 3.35, just to make sure it's going to be tack sharp, because it doesn't hurt a thing. I even kind of like the look. And then you can shoot a shutter speed. In Tropicana Field, I usually shot 1,000 thousandths of a second.
Now, do you shoot an aperture priority, shutter priority, manual?
No, I shoot f-stop priority all the time. Yeah, it's always stuck on that, and then I usually let my the speed be whatever it is. It's almost always 1,000 or faster.
You shoot with ISO and automatic?
Huh?
Do you do your ISO in automatic?
No, never.
No,
I can't think of a single time that I let my ISO just be automatic.
Okay.
It usually runs way too high when it's on automatic. Way too high. I'm kind of I want it clean. I want that if the picture's not clean, it's it's got to be good. So I don't do that. But I do know this much though. The other thing that's really nice that people can afford is to get the lenses that have a really good image stabilizer built into it also. Those, when they first came out, didn't work so great, but now they work excellent. And I mean, you can literally get 5 stops difference. So from a sports standpoint, let's look at it like this. You're shooting on the field and everything's going along great. Now you switch over to your right because you want to get this shot of this ball player that is just angry because of his performance up at the plate a few seconds ago. And he's sitting in the back of the dugout underneath all the light, and it's dark in there, That image stabilizer will make the difference between you getting that dugout shot and not getting it.
Okay.
That's just one example where it's absolutely vital. I mean, you can't get the shot if you don't have it. You just don't.
Okay. And now everything you're talking about sports is pretty much the same if you're doing any kind of action photography, like bird photography, right?
Yep. All the settings would be exactly the same. I think you and I talked about that yesterday, is where it crosses over. Anything you would want to know, or the equipment you would want to have, or the proper way to move your equipment, all of it applies to getting out in the field and shooting birds.
Even one of the things you just said, that you got to know the behavior of the pitchers. You need to know the behavior of the birds.
The very, very best bird photographers spend way more time figuring out where they're going to be and when they're going to be there than they do shooting. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get back to so you all of a sudden lost the gig. Do you even know why? Did you ever find out why, or what happened, or?
I don't want to say on your show.
No. Okay. So you lost the gig.
Yeah.
You lost the gig, and then what happened?
Well, I'll say this much. They were systematically going through the building, letting people go that had any kind of time,
Oh,
And we were replaced with younger people.
cheaper.
Sure. So anyway, that's kind of what happened. And it's just the way things are. I wasn't happy about it because it would have been nice. I had this fantasy of, you know, putting in like a 2-year notice, showing some kid the ropes, you know what I mean? Letting him take over. On a Tuesday night when there's no one there, they let me throw out a first pitch and I say, thanks, I've been great, goodbye, But I didn't get that. I got let go in the off season and I haven't been back since. So that kind of smarted. But anyway, I'm sorry, what was your next question?
So you lost this gig, and then what happened? What'd you do?
Well, yeah, it was very unexpected. So I was like, oh, God, this is like 60-80% of my income I just lost. Plus, it wasn't just a job. I mean, if you're ever fortunate enough to become a team photographer for a major league baseball team, it's like the best thing ever. I parked with the players in the parking. I mean, it was just the funnest thing ever. That was me getting mail.
Oh,
yeah. So anyway, I literally took a couple of weeks where I didn't do anything. I'm not a drinker, but I had a few drinks. Yeah. And I took a few weeks and just, I believe in letting the hurt do its thing, rather than just trying to, jump into, panic mode. And I believe, when good things happen, enjoy that moment for a second, and when bad things happen, let it be, let it do its thing, remember that, maybe you can learn something.
go through your stages of grief.
Exactly. So I took a couple of weeks, didn't do much of anything. And then I started to do a few things, but it seemed so awful. I didn't even know how to tell people that I've been the team photographer forever. It seemed like, I mean, that's my identity, Hi, I'm Skip Milos, Rays team photographer, So it took some healing, but then I got off the pity wagon and started, like I told you yesterday, one of the first things I did is I started making cold calls to clients that have been good to me over the years. Obviously, I've been good to them. And just letting them know that I'm still here, and if you've been thinking about beefing up your marketing material, by all means, give me a shout. And then I would follow that up with an email to them, show them some samples of some things I've been doing. And that was pretty much it. I remarketed myself because I hadn't been doing that at all. I mean, nothing. I mean, I've got the Rays gig on this hand, and I've got all these other nice gigs on this hand. I don't need to hustle for work. I'm doing good. So that was a rude awakening. But I got busy and started to market myself and beef up my, almost everything, LinkedIn, Facebook. I got a Facebook corporate page, for a business page. I took out some Facebook ads. I don't really think that did a lot, but I mean, I don't want to say I got so desperate. I guess I just want to say I wanted to cover everything as well as I even signed up with Thumbtack and a few other services like that.
Okay. So you basically just make a list of all these different things you could do for marketing and just start plugging through them, or
yeah, pretty much.
Did you update your website or?
Yeah, because I mean, other than that, I can only paint the house so many times, and I can only, you know what I mean? There's only so much you can do if you're not working.
You need money too.
I don't ever plan on retiring. I mean, if I'm 90 years old and somebody wants to pay me to take a photograph, I'm going to do it. I mean, I don't really ever want to retire. I love what I do. I mean, I really do.
So let's talk about, I mean, for a lot of us, like me, for instance, I lost a lot of business, and I don't see a lot of it coming. Well, the event photography is about half of my business. I don't see that coming back this year.
Right.
If it does, it's going to be very, very small.
And that's a big part of my income too. I work for Bristol Myers Squibb, Merck Pharmaceuticals, PBS and J Atkins Corporation. These are all big conventions that they have in Orlando. Gone.
I know. So,
Gone.
if you were yes to me, what should I do? It sounds like the first thing I should do is look at my website and make sure it's relevant to something new, right?
Yeah,
Not event photography.
right.
Don't
Well,
take the event photography off, but highlight.
in my case,
Shots.
I think my website looks and functions okay. In my case, what I did is I just got in there and updated everything. I mean, the pictures that were on my website were old, and I and I look at them, they're like they're terrible. You know, I mean, the work I do nowadays is just so much better. But we all do that. You know, we all go, oh, that stuff 2 years ago, oh, that was terrible. No, this is good. You know, 2 years
But
later, the
a
same thing.
freshened up website is a great idea, right?
Yeah. So I really went in there and pulled off a lot of bad pictures and put in some of the newer stuff I was doing. And now I'm doing that on almost a weekly basis. If I get a shot of anything that I think is good, it goes right in there right away.
It's so funny you said that because what I have done is just really focused more on like, headshots and corporate group shots and commercial type of work like that. But my website was very general all over the place. So I kind of update it. And you're right. That's almost every week I'm either putting it on the website or putting it on Facebook. Any work I get, I'm trying to.
And the other thing is for anybody that might be following you a little, and I know people do that because I do it myself. I'll go back to a certain site that's offering software, and I'll look at their demo videos, and I'll do that 3, 4, 5 times before I buy. So
Yeah.
I'm certain people are doing that to me. They're going, well, what's he doing in the portrait thing these days, you know? And so
That's a good point.
it's important to keep adding that fresh stuff in there because you don't know if you got somebody that's been there 3 times in the last 3 months and they're just waiting for that one thing to pop up and go, oh yeah, we got to call this guy.
Well, plus it makes you look like you're really relevant.
On the ball. Yeah. It looks like you get up in the morning. Yeah, it sure does.
All right. And so you also said you beefed up your social media. So let's just start with LinkedIn. What'd you do with LinkedIn?
All I did was, again, exactly the same thing I did to my website, go into my portfolio on LinkedIn and update all the pictures and add some information and just whatever I could do, to.
I did not know you could put pictures on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They have a whole thing for pictures. Yeah.
And this is on the free version?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Now, that's one thing I haven't done. And don't misunderstand me. I've always been an artistic person. I'm not a geek, and I don't have a problem with geeks because they do wonderful things for me. But even when I was doing web design, I wasn't into all the background stuff. I had enough of that, when I learned how to build the first website. My thing was about building websites that were visually stunning and compelling to look at, and that's still what I love doing. I actually have a buddy that helps me out with SEOs and all that kind of stuff. And so I can't speak intelligently about that really at all. But all of that is important also. Your tags, keywords, all that, kind of stuff that you can get in there. But I still believe, for me personally, if I was selling pictures online, I would probably have a different attitude about it. But for me, I do best when I'm in front of people. So I called a lot of my clients and I made appointments with them. I said, well, let me come down and show you what I've been doing lately. And that's where I get my work. You want to know where I really get my work? This is the best tip I could give anybody.
Okay.
If somebody is thinking about hiring you for a website, or somebody wants you to do a video about a such and such and so and so, or whatever, do it before you even go in for the meeting. Just do it. Create the whole front page of the website. That will guarantee you the work every single time. I've never wasted.
Most of us are we're photographers. We're not website people.
Well, you're right, but I'm talking about that. But that applies to a lot of different things too. I've gone, okay, this is a perfect example. Right down the street from me, there's a retirement home that they just built that is this huge, gorgeous spread of land and property, right? And it's brand new. Now, I know they probably hired photographers for blah, 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 blah. But I went by with the drone and got an amazing capture of this when the sky was just perfect and everything. And I retouched it really nice. And I went in with that picture. I didn't just go in and say, look, I'm a great photographer. Here's some of my work. I went in with their picture. And
that's good.
And they looked at that, and the one girl looks at the other, and she goes, "Oh, we got to get Mary." Evidently, Mary was the person in marketing, and I sold them the picture, and I do more work for them now. But I didn't go in there. I mean, doing a cold call, I give you a lot of credit for that. You know, I don't know any photographers that do cold calls. You know, that
who would you cold call? Like you said, you cold called old customers. I would call those warm calls. What did you actually cold call anybody?
Well,
that this is
right. This is the perfect example. This building right down the street from where I live. I didn't know anybody there.
No. Oh, so okay. I didn't catch that part. Sorry.
But rather than just going in and handing them a brochure and my business card, and I have lots of material that I could hand out, you know, I showed them a picture of their own building.
Oh, that's done. Good. I
put the logo on it. I did everything like it was a marketing shot for the cover of their brochure. And that got me the deal. That got me the sell. And then I went in and shot a bunch of headshots, and I don't know what else I ended up doing there. But I believe that it started in web design when I had a client on the hook that I was going to have a meeting with. I would go see what they have now. I would research all that, you know, and I would build them a front page that I could just open up the laptop and go, well, this is what we have so far. And right off the bat, they're so impressed that you took all the energy to do that for your first meeting with them, that who isn't going to want to work with you, you know?
Yeah,
plus if it looks good, you know.
That's some good stuff. I can see. I'm thinking about different companies that I could just do the building, even though I'm not really that interested in real estate photography, but certainly I can do it, you know?
Right.
And I have done it, but
that's another thing I'm going to start doing also. And just exactly what you just said. I get hired to do some drone things here and there. And I capture, in the process of doing this for someone else, magnificent shots of other buildings and other, you know, why aren't I showing up there, you know, with that picture? Like that, you know how many people in a skyscraper might want your image?
That's good stuff. And
you just go up and down the floors all day long going, building, it's for sale.
That's a good point. You know, I mean, you could,
yeah, you don't even have to leave the air conditioning all day.
You know, I interviewed a guy quite a while ago. He's an older guy. He doesn't have a website. I don't think he had email. And he just does aerial shots of Marco Island out of an airplane because he's old school.
That is old school.
And he sells them at the, you know, Marco Island is a very high end place. That he sells them at the farm market and their art shows.
Yeah.
He doesn't even do any art shows that are off of the island.
Right.
It's not even a big island, but he makes enough money just doing that because people who move, you know, especially we live in Florida, people are moving to Florida all the time. And you're right. They might want a picture of their building just as artwork.
Yeah. It's like anything else, you know,
you gotta, for their website, right?
Yeah. You got to be willing to try new things, you know, I mean.
No, that's great. I like that. What else you got?
Well, I've had like 5 careers in my life, you know, so obviously I'm not afraid to, you know, switch gears and go off in another direction. But yeah.
Things you told me is you had a good idea for when COVID hit. Can you tell our audience about that? Do you remember what we talked about? Group shots.
Oh, composite editing for group shots. Yeah. That's something I've done for a long time. Now, this is how I used to promote it. I would say I was doing a Photoshop for Cornerstone. They have a big office in Tampa and probably 65 employees. And every time they want to do a group shot, it's a major pain because a lot of their employees don't even live in Tampa. They're nationwide. So to get these people all together in the entryway of the building there it's a huge effort on their part. And I told them one year, I says, look, I can shoot every one of your employees. We can have a photo day and everybody at their leisure, you know, they're all going to have to be in town, but at least at their leisure, they don't all have to be there at 9 o'clock sharp, you know. They can scroll through this little studio. I'll do full length shots of them and I will composite edit you a group shot that will look so much better than what we've been doing. The original shot's going to cost you considerably more money than just a standard group shot. But here's the advantage. anytime you lose an employee, I pluck them out and send you a brand new version of your group shot. Anytime you add an employee, all I need to do is shoot that person. No one else has to come in from out of town. And they went like, oh my God, they loved it. You know, they just loved that idea. So when this COVID thing came in, I've actually gotten some work. Now I'm still suffering like a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but I've actually gotten some jobs because of it. And the way I promote this is I have an ad out there that shows 10 people, you know, all next to each other, hanging on, whatever, in the same room. And I put an ad on my Facebook page. It says, you know, group shots. Oh God, I can't remember how I titled it. It was a really catchy little title. Anyway, what it amounted to is we can do your group shot and still respect the 6-foot rule. And then I had and then I showed the picture, and then I said, ask me how I did it with the phone number. And I've had, I don't know, 5 or 6 jobs come in just because of that. Our employees are scared to death to be in the same room with each other. They don't want to take their masks off. They don't want to blah, 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 blah. I feel sorry for them, you know, but that's, you know, that's the reality right now. And yeah, they come in one at a time. They pop their mask off for a second, and 5 days later, they have this gorgeous composite edit of a group shot. And you saw the one I did for Ruttenberg Realty. Mm-hmm. Isn't that pretty?
I have a, crap, I had a question. Oh, wait, I got the question back. Okay. So you said you put a Facebook ad up on your business page. Was it an actual ad, or you just put a post up there?
I did put a post. Yeah.
And
I put a post.
How do you get people to see it if it's on your business page? Because Facebook doesn't show it to anybody. Do you put it on your, do you like share it on your personal page? Or?
Yeah, I shared it on my personal page. I sure did. Yeah. If I get more traffic on my personal page than I do on my business page anyway, I have no idea why that is.
Facebook, they want you to pay.
Yeah.
If you have a business page, they won't show your post to anybody unless you pay.
Right. Yeah. And I've done a few on my business site and paid for the ads. I don't know if I'm really getting a lot of bang for my buck out of it. I think maybe I got one job one time. But then again, you know, we're photographers, and most of the work we do is pretty high end. You know, I don't do a lot of, you know, $100 stuff. I either get a photography job or I don't, you know.
Yeah. So you've mostly in your career, it sounds like, gone after like branding, marketing type of materials for commercial clients.
Right.
And, you know, I personally have done quite a bit of that myself, mostly, and especially after all of the inexperienced photographers kind of infiltrated the world, our photography world, into, you know, starting in 2009-ish, 8 maybe. The thing is, they don't, you know, they don't learn lighting, which is a big benefit for those of us who are true professional photographers. They don't learn lighting. They might know a little bit about posing because they go on Pinterest all the time, but the lighting, for some reason, I don't understand why, but they don't seem to learn. So that is something that I think
I can't. You're absolutely right, and I just don't get it. I mean, the best, funnest part of photography is light. I mean, it's like the best thing ever, and manipulating it and changing it and working with it and getting it to do things. I mean, you don't ever really get it to do what you want it to do because it's a wild animal and you can't tame it, you know. But oh my God, the light is everything. I love working with strobes and filters and all kinds of stuff. It's just, for me, that's just way fun.
Me too.
But you're right. Most people don't have a clue. They don't even own any lights, you know, I mean.
But I think it's good advice for anyone who is a struggling photographer who's serious about, you know, having a photography business. You really need to know how to use artificial lighting. I mean, if you can't say I'm going to use all natural light and then go inside a building that has fluorescent lights. That's not natural light. That's horrible light. You have to learn how to overcome it.
Right. Yeah. And there's a million different ways to do it. And the experience is the only way you know, that you really, really get a handle on this. And, you know, I don't know who coined the phrase, but if you want to be a good photographer, you got to take a lot of pictures, you know,
Yeah.
and you have to use light. You have to experiment with stroke, even just your on-camera flash. I've got a system on mine. One thing Canon came out with a while ago that I just love is they their on-camera flashes are 600 watts. I mean, that's a hell of a blast of light. And they came out with a system where you've got a controller that you put on the camera. And then as many of the lights as you want to buy, you can hook up to that controller and then control them all right from the camera. So obviously, for me personally, I have everything on manual. And then you can have lights up in the ceilings. You can have, it comes in really handy for shooting like hotel room interiors, stuff like that, where you don't have any room for equipment. You can run these little lights up all over the place, you know, and then just power them right from where you're standing.
Yep.
So if you need a little more there, you don't have to run up there and adjust the light. You know what I mean? You can just pop it right here. And it's an ingenious thing they came out with.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I get lost when I talk about light because we could talk for 5 hours. You know?
I know. I actually really, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. We have, you know, we do training at Understand Photography. And and I have a studio that I rent out. And actually, I'm trying to sell it right now, though, because I think it might help me out of some of my COVID problems. Yeah. So anybody who's interested in commercial property in Naples, Florida, keep that in mind. Anyway. There's one lady, she is a graphic artist. She sells her artwork and she likes to do these fantasy type of things. And she has done a couple. Joe sat in with her once and I did the second time. And when I sat in with her, she rents the studio, but she doesn't have liability insurance. So she has to pay a little bit extra to have one of us in there with her.
Right.
So I did the lighting for her and she was recreating this, it was from, I think, Game of Thrones or one of those old fashioned shows. Yeah. And she had this big burly guy and he had all these cool costumes and dead animals hanging out. That
calls for very dramatic light. Yeah.
Oh my God. We both had so much fun because I never get to use my snoot and my barn doors and my grip. Yeah. All that stuff came out. It was supposed to be 2 hours. We might have spent a little more time because we were all three of us were having so much fun with all the different weird, we were doing gels and the colors and all kinds of stuff. Just so much fun when you learn. Anyway, so let's, let me see what time it is because we got to start wrapping it up. Can you go through any big major points for turning your business around? Like right now, a lot of us are struggling. What can we do?
Well, you know what? I speak at colleges and photo clubs and stuff every now and then. And the first requirement to being a photographer, a good photographer nowadays is you have to love it. I mean, you make sure you really, really love it because it's hard. I mean, it still is just as hard with everything you have to learn as it ever was. The competition now is crazy. You know, it's just crazy. And you and I talked about this earlier. It's driving prices down. You know, I mean, I still know a lot of photographers, and myself included, that command a decent amount of money for what they do. You know, but it's getting trickier to get that. And there's just a lot of things that are becoming a little more frustrating than I don't want to say bad stuff, you know, really, because I still love this art. But make sure you really love it because there's a lot of bumps in the road these days. Other than that, as far as building an audience and getting people to sit up and take notice of your work, it's just kind of common sense. Post everything that you can, you know, I mean, get it out there, put your name on the picture. I know a lot of people post pictures, they don't even put their name on it. You know, I've been doing a lot of more artistic work this last year too, especially this last year. I'm doing it all backwards. It's like I was telling you before. The first camera I bought because I had a job waiting for me. No, I never ran around shooting nature or anything or having fun or skies or, you know, never. I was always working with the camera, shooting food, you know, stuff like that. which I actually kind of like. It's a fun, I like, whenever I get a chance to shoot food in a nice restaurant, it's a very fun day. But anyway,
Cold calls.
yeah, cold calls are super important, you know. I mean, just go in and meet people, shake their hands. People really appreciate that nowadays because everybody is doing everything with email. You know, everybody's doing everything with text messages. Everybody's, you know, these things were designed to save us time. We're not saving any time with this. But what we're doing is putting stuff off. That's all we do nowadays. We just put stuff off. We just have a meeting, you know. Yeah, cold calls are super important.
Oh, you know what else you said? You said do the work before.
Yeah, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's probably the biggest tip that I could give anybody trying to get clients. If you're lucky enough to get somebody on the phone that's interested in doing work with you to a point that they are going to give you a meeting with them, don't show up with stuff you shot for other people. Shoot their building. In the meantime, show them their building, you know.
Yeah.
You can't shoot their people. You can't do stuff like that. That you're going to have to do. But you can still do something to personalize what you have to offer them so that they feel like you're there for them, not just some client that's in a big list, you know. I mean, I know that worked for me so many times. As a matter of fact, it worked every time. Every single time. Every single time I've gone into a business and said, here, I shot this of, you know, just thought you might be interested in it. I sold it every time. I don't know why I don't do it more. And the idea about running up and down the elevators in some of the high rises in downtown Tampa, I've never done, but I'm certainly going to do it after this meeting. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's now I don't have anything like that here in Naples, Florida, but
Yeah.
but I, you know, especially if they have a unique building, I think that would be really, really any building probably, but if something unique about the building.
The thing that's nice about being proactive and doing it this way is because you have the opportunity to wait for the absolutely most beautiful light you could ever ask for. And I'm talking about architectural photography right now, okay? And this could apply to a lot of things. But just for buildings, you have the advantage of being able to wait until the light is just killer. Where if you have the job, you have a deadline.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no deadline with this. You wait until it's perfect. Shoot it, edit it, retouch it, make it just take it in and show it to them, and you'll get a job. You will. I mean, anybody appreciates that, you know?
So it sounds like, you know, if you are into this type of work, which I am, I don't have quite the options that you do living close to a big city, but
yeah,
for me, I could make a list of the bigger companies here in town.
Sure.
And, you know, go from there.
Yeah.
And make those cold calls and maybe take the pictures of their buildings and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things you said that I just didn't even know, I've never really, you know, I have a LinkedIn. Anytime somebody says, hey, you know, do you want to connect? I say yes, but I never go on LinkedIn. I didn't even know. Pardon me?
I said, I don't either. I go on there to beef up my profile once in a while, but I don't know that anyone has ever contacted me through LinkedIn and given me a job, you know?
I mean, I did not know that you could do the pictures, so I'm going to work on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, you sure can.
Every once in a while, my sister messages me through, she's the only one who messages me through LinkedIn, but you know, she's got a big high power, fancy schmancy corporate job. You know, maybe it's something that I should be looking at more often.
Yeah. I just do it. I look at it this way. If it doesn't cost me a bunch of money and it doesn't hurt anyone, just do it.
Yeah. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
All right. So what's on the horizon for Skip Milos Productions?
Oh God, I don't know. The thing that I'm really enjoying right now, especially since this COVID thing hit, is I'm out shooting really, really beautiful pictures. I mean, it's the first time in my life that I've gone out to shoot a sunset, you know, just for the sunset, or go out and shoot, you know, the Skyway Bridge or what have you. And I'm positive I will sell those pictures too. I'm waiting till I get enough of a portfolio of Bay Area shots that are stunning. Every single one of them have to be perfect, or I'm not going to do this. And then I'll release them to local businesses and local news outlets and things like that, and just let them know, hey, look, this is my work. This is what I do. I think I sent you some samples. I don't know if when this airs, you can show any of that stuff or how that works. But
Well, we put it in the show notes at understandphotography.com. And then of course we also put a link to your website, what is your website?
it's just my name, skipmilos.com.
And that Milos is M like Mary, ILOS.
Yep.
skipmilos.com.
All one word.
Pretty good. It's a very unusual name, but still a really easy name.
It's the only name like it in the world.
I
have no idea where it came from, to be honest with you. People are always asking me, are you like Greek or something like that? And my stock answer is, well, my parents drank and traveled a lot.
What about Skip? Skip is a real name or a nickname?
Actually, well, I'm not going to say it on hell, I don't care. My real name is Sheldon.
Shelby?
Sheldon.
Oh, Sheldon.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool name too, though.
Yeah, I guess. It does sound like a creative person,
But did anyone ever?
I've been called Skip. I've been called Skip since I was like that tall, and I really like that name. Plus, it was fun in baseball too, because I'd be standing next to Joe Madden and somebody would yell out, "Hey, Skipper!" And we both look every time, and we never knew who it was for. And we're still friends, Joe and I. We text each other all the time, and I keep in touch with him. And yeah, he's a great guy. That was one of the really fun things that came from that whole deal, was
awesome
friendship with Joe.
Well, thank you for being on the Understand Photography show.
That's it?
That's it. It went fast. I told you it would.
It did. It just went by very quickly, yeah. So, anyway, thank you, Peggy. This was a pleasure.
Thank you, Skip. Well, audience, I know I'm going to go and update my LinkedIn profile right now. I hope you learned a lot. I sure did. Thanks to Skip Milos Productions for being on our show. I'm Peggy Farron. Thank you for joining us on the Understand Photography Show. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Get up!